Welcome back to the M3 podcast. Today, it's Rick and I in the podcast studio at the office again.
We're back at it.
I know. We haven't really made it to the home podcast studio, and it's going to be changing here within the month.
That's very exciting.
It is. So that would be, how many podcast studios have we had now at this point?
We've had the basement, the River Market, then back to the garage.
Yep.
And then we've had quite a few in here lately.
Yep.
We've had some in the bus. This will probably be like the 6th podcast studio.
Yeah. So it's just more space and more areas to sit and chat.
We'll have to show them some behind the scenes of like building out the space and stuff. I think that could be fun.
Yeah, we will. We'll definitely need a camera person there the day that we move, because I have a feeling it's going to be like in a matter of like an hour. It's like up.
Yeah, it's just going to be like
ready to go.
It's got to be your first priority, I would assume.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to be spending most of my time. But in case you're wondering, I'm moving, so it'll be at the new home forefront. But today we are going to go over extreme ownership.
Yes, extreme ownership.
This is our number one core value here at MMG, and I think this is something that more people struggle with than that they even know. It's something I work really hard on, and I still even find myself falling short of it sometimes. And it's a framework that you have to build in your head just to own everything that you do day in and day out. And I just want to deep dive more into it. And they wrote a whole entire book on it. So Jocko Williams, go check it out.
Yeah. So extreme ownership. What does that mean to you?
To me, when I look at ownership, I look at it as a lot bigger lens of what I'm looking at. I think it's really easy that if we're sitting with a client or whatever it may be, but if we're sitting with a client and you say something off the wall and client's like, hey, I didn't appreciate what Ricky said and I'm not going with you guys because of that. Most people are really quick to say, yeah, that was Ricky's fault. Rick. They're both the same person.
It's tricky.
Yeah, tricky Ricky. But if I'm sitting in that conversation, it's really easy to just say, hey, that's your fault. Extreme ownership is looking at the bigger lens to say, I helped train you. I didn't train you properly. So ultimately, that's still my fault. And I think a lot of times you have to look at your horizons forward and back at a lot higher level to be able to see truly the ownership of what you've led yourself into or where you're going. So in business, I see it all the time. People are like, there's no good employees out there. I'm like, maybe you're really bad at training people. Maybe you're really bad at giving them the benefits that they're looking for. And it's ultimately everything that happens in life is your fault. Like when I drive into work every day, like whatever the day is going to give me, it's on me.
So I think when people see extreme ownership, like at face value, they think, oh, it's taking accountability. But I think exactly what you were saying, it goes a lot deeper than just taking accountability for the things that are obviously your fault. When somebody comes up to you like, hey, why'd you cut me off? Like there's a difference taking accountability in that moment. And then in the case where you were talking about the employees or the team that you lead, you're also responsible for the decisions that they make because you can influence them or you bring them up through the training and everything. And that's to me kind of what gets deeper with extreme ownership is not just the obvious things that you need to take accountability for, but the downstream effects too.
And I think what sometimes frustrates me a little bit with extreme ownership is there's people that they're like, yeah, I carry extreme ownership. I'm like, no, you're really good at taking accountability in like little thing, like a little scenario and just saying, hey, that's my fault.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing as extreme ownership. And there's a lot of people too that I've had that have worked here that don't work here anymore. And they're like, I've said that was my fault. I'm like, yeah, you did the same thing 4 times though.
And it was your fault every time, but you didn't do anything to change it.
Exactly. And like, it's a lack of knowledge to lack of execution. And it's every single time something happens at MMG, I always think of like lack of knowledge to lack of execution. Because there are times too, though, that like you can give somebody all the knowledge, But if they don't execute, that is on them. Like it, and it is something that then that comes back to the extreme ownership on me that person shouldn't have a job here. And it's hard because there's times where people are at fault for something, but you're ultimately the extreme ownership if you're looking at the big lens. Now, if I let that person stay, I'm not taking ownership in it for the future of where I want to go. To where then 12 months down the road when I'm not where I want to be or where the company's supposed to be, I have to look back and take ownership of like, oh, I let this person linger around here when I knew.
You knew it was going to turn into a problem and cause taking the easier road to avoid a situation now leads to 2 or 3 times the problems down the road.
Yeah. So I definitely think that hey, yeah, it's my fault. Like
that's not super helpful.
No,
it doesn't really get you closer to the goal.
And a lot of times when people say that, I'm like, okay, great. Glad you took ownership of it. What are you doing to where that doesn't happen again? And it's wild how many times you'll like hit a roadblock right there that they're like, I'm like, because you didn't truly take ownership. You just thought that was like what you needed to say.
Yeah.
So you didn't actually think through your head of like what needed to take place to where you didn't end up in the exact same position again. And it's, I don't know. I've always looked at it as like when I take ownership for something, like I'm looking at the past and the future of like, why did it lead me there? And I think I probably overanalyze it sometimes a little too much.
Like as far as like taking too much ownership or like getting too into the weeds of what led to what outcome?
Maybe getting too far into the weeds about like what led to that. Because dude, I'm telling you, spiderweb out. Like
I did this, then made them do this.
Maybe I drove to work too fast one day to put my like. But it's like it can spiral out of like where you missed the mark.
Yep.
So I always do try to like hone in on like, okay, this is when I was training this person. Like, what did I miss that put us here? And people are really quick to get onto others in a work forefront, somebody that even a partnership that you may work with someone else. Like it was something that recently we had a client that wildly busy all the time. CEO, super busy, out networking, doing all the things that he's doing. We send him a content plan and it doesn't make it to his C-suite level. So then the day before the content shoot, COO reaches out and says, hey, I need to cancel a content shoot. I didn't know what we were filming tomorrow. How easy is that on our side as an account manager and as a company to say, it's their fault. They didn't communicate. Like pretty easy. I looked at it, I'm like, our fault. Why have we not built a system? Why have we not built a system that better communicates with everyone in their company that doesn't lead us down that route? Because with our knowledge, we know that the CEO is super busy, that he's out doing those things. COO is really busy too, just doing different things. We need to make sure that they're all in one spot, that we can communicate with them well and effectively. Because then that goes into effective communication. If that's the position that we ended up in, we failed on our side. And so I look at those things that business to business, so many times somebody is like, well, it's their fault. That I've had business owners that have wanted us to do something and we execute and they're like, that's not what I wanted at all. Like that was the amount of knowledge that we were given on it. Like we executed well. Like I can't pull the vision out of your head and make it mine.
Yeah, and because we take extreme ownership in those situations, that's not just going to make this relationship better with that client. It's also going to fix a problem in the future because now we have a different system in place so that we just don't run into that again. And now it's going to make our communication with every client so much better because of that.
I don't think I realized how much extreme ownership actually affected and helped us develop our SOPs and systematically how we run as a company. Because ultimately, as we've built and as our systems have gotten better and more effective, most of the time it's based off of a problem that we've ran into with a client. And it's funny because it would be really easy just to be like, yeah, that client sucks. It was on them. It's their fault. Like, and we've had people leave because I really don't accept that for an answer. Like, I just, at the end of the day, I can't accept that as an answer. It's where when we've had account managers or whoever it may be, that's their answer to everything, that you can't tell me that you're just like the only person that just every one of your clients is bad. Like
Just got all bad clients.
or like it's take ownership of like maybe you need to work on your communication skills.
Like, is there a common denominator here? Like, if we're having a whole bunch of problems, well, maybe we need to take extreme ownership and figure out what system is broken or what's not being adhered to if it's a lack of execution, so that we can fix that problem.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times I want to dive not just fully into business, but also in like a personal life. I think taking ownership of, once again, when you're looking at the full lens, not just a today lens, you get in a argument with your significant other. There's been multiple times that I've spoke on other podcasts about like I don't get why when people have a disagreement or don't see it the same way in a relationship, why they want to argue and why they want to try to beat the person that they've decided to spend the rest of their life with. Like, doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
It doesn't.
I have no desire to beat Madison in a conversation or there having to be a winner. But when we do have discussions and we're going over something, that there could be something I'm doing that upsets her. There could be something I'm doing that she doesn't appreciate. Whatever it may be, having those, it's looking at the lens from a bigger picture, that it's most of the time not just like a today problem, but something that's built up over time. And taking that ownership, like, hey, maybe that is something that I have been doing. I didn't really notice myself fall into that. That I think when things happen like gradually over time, you don't even realize it. Like it can go with weight. Like I've gradually gained weight over 3 years. It's like something that like I know I need to work on that. It's on my agenda and my docket of things to fix. I take ownership. I'm not sitting there blaming cereal companies for my weight. Like, no, I can't blame Hershey's chocolate. They're like, oh my God, like they
make it taste too good, man.
I magically end up with a Hershey chocolate every night. Like, but having those, like identifying those as you progress, then also being able to, that's probably the one thing I do look back. Like, I'm not a big person on like looking back.
Yeah.
I like to see how far we've come and like how far I personally like reflect on how far I've come as a person. And I think I work a lot on emotional intelligence. I work a lot on the extreme ownership side, on communication, just on a lot of different things. And I think that just effectively makes you a better person as you go forward.
In all aspects of life.
Exactly. And that's where the ownership is one of those pieces that I look back at other scenarios and places that I was at. And that sometimes I'm like, you know what, Dane, you didn't do a great job owning that. Like you formulated an excuse in your head. Like, and I hate myself for that sometimes. And I like look at it and like, I think subconsciously people do it because it's a safeguard for you.
Yeah.
That you're going to say, hey, this makes me feel better. I'm not going to think about this all night because, you know, it's not my fault. Like, so.
Yeah. Yeah. And there is some truth to that where you don't want to take all of the world's problems on as your own, but you want to have the extreme ownership for what you do have control of.
Yeah.
But that's a lot more than a lot of people are willing to admit that they have control of.
Yeah. And anybody I speak with, that one thing that just makes humans different ultimately is what's between their two ears. Mm-hmm. And you look at someone like Stephen Hawking that was in a wheelchair, but he was still one of the smartest minds that we had. And like that didn't define him. That wasn't like something that like kept him from doing what he wanted to do. And I look at the amount of things that we do get to control in a day and the amount of excuses that people create on just like the more times that you take reps at anything, the better you're going to get at it. And that goes for excuses also.
I've never thought about it like that, but you're totally right. Like the more you take the excuse path, the easier it is to just take that path.
The other day I leave the house and I had an appointment at 8 a.m. And every night, like if I have something in the morning, I always GPS how far away it is.
Yep.
And I normally always leave 10, 15 minutes early, make sure I give myself grace if I hit traffic, something like that. Well, I go to the gym, I'm running behind. fully on me. I click snooze on my alarm twice. I hate when I do that because it leads to the exact same thing every single time. I'm rushing around. I leave. I'm like, I'm still good. I'm like, it's 24 minutes away. I got 30 minutes. I get on 36 minutes to location. I'm going there and I'm like, just tell them there's traffic. I'm like, and then as I'm like going there, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, no, I'm not telling them that, because they're gonna look at me as I'm someone that makes excuses. I get there and they're like, where you been? I was like, I'm late. It's on me. Like, but then afterwards I get done and it's a 8 to 1 p.m. meeting, and I called Madison and I told her, I was like, I'm just frustrated because I was late, because I'm not a late person.
Yeah.
But that's so many people just on that one thing, on traffic. How many people, like we've had it. How many times have we been in meetings and somebody shows up? Like, I think I've had one morning meeting I've been late to. I sat in traffic for 2 hours. So I was like,
yeah, I think you were headed to the diner to have breakfast before.
Yeah, I was I was going to have breakfast and everything. I ended up in like sit still traffic for 2 hours.
The meeting's not until 8:30.
Yeah. And I still walk in, I'm going at 6:30. Like, I'd already been to the gym, and I'm like, dude, yeah, morning's going great. Yeah. And then I'm like dead still sitting on I-35, like not moving. It is red from north all the way down south, and there wasn't really a different way I could get off to even go.
Yeah, no alternate routes at that point.
So I walk in, I think I was like 5-10 minutes late, and
Something
I was
like
about
that.
to pee my pants too in the truck. And I walk in and I was just like, I was still pissed that I was late. Like, I was so mad that I was late. But it's like, I have people that are late to everything, and every single time I'm like, we could sit here and bet on what their excuse would be. But if you're going to make an excuse for something that simple, what do you do when you make the excuses for the big things? That I feel like people condition themselves to make excuses. I feel like people condition, like, on the easiest things, if you're going to do it, like, that's where you have to start rewiring your brain. Like, there's people that have been like, I'm like, I don't care what your fucking excuse is. I really don't. And they're like, bleh. They still want to try to get it out.
But I got to tell you.
Yeah, I have to tell you. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't care what your excuse is. And I have a buddy that I used to joke with him because he was late to everything. And I'm like, dude, he'd come in. I'm like, what? Some like 85-year-old lady was driving a concrete truck and down the middle of the road and doing 5 miles an hour. Like, what's the excuse? Like, because there was always something. And it was funny because, like, he realized it too. But it's taking ownership of that spot to say, hey, what do I actively have to do to where I'm not a late person? Or am I just going to be a late person all the time? There's just always an excuse for what I do. Because that's not extreme ownership.
And if you can take control of that, though, and even if it's as something as simple as getting to wherever you're trying to go on time or early, preferably, like that alone will change your life if you take the ownership of that. Because then you're not in this rushing around, stressed out headspace trying to make it there on time. Then you're pissed off on your drive because you're late again.
Yeah.
And that's just not a good spot to be.
Yeah. And I look at that as like, it's just such a basic level of it. But most of the time if you find people that make the excuses on that, most of the time they make a lot of other excuses that have led them. You meet highly successful people, they're not late to shit. They're not like blaming everyone else for things. Like, I just look at the people that I'm around. You show me someone's life and you show me how long they've been doing whatever, most of the time I can start telling you, I'm like, that person has excuses for everything. Guarantee it. Watch it. Their whole life's falling apart. They go get drunk fucking 4 or 5 days a week. And like, I drink. I don't get fucking like drunk often. Like, that's a rarity. I enjoy my bourbon when I sit down. But it's like, there's people I know that go blackout 4 or 5 nights a week. But they still have the audacity to go in and blame everything else in the world on all their problems. Hey, you don't think that's like kind of correlating into that? You don't think that has any bearing? That like you can't get up but 15 minutes before work? You don't think that has any bearing on your life?
But then they get in that cycle where they drank last night, then they're late to work. And then by the time they get to the end of that day, they're like, man, I had a shitty day.
Yeah.
Got to have a drink now. And then it just restarts that cycle.
You can compound whatever you want in life. You can compound excuses. You can compound negativity. You can compound positivity. You can compound great days. You can compound bad days. Like you get to pick what you want to compound in life. And that's where I think it's like that ownership comes into place. What is the reference of having a bad day? What is that? What are those indicators that you had a bad day? Because I have a day that I come to work and I have a meeting every single hour on the hour, and I get done and I feel so fucking energized, and I feel like I just like ran a marathon and I'm on cloud 9. I know some people, if they have a busy day, they get done, they're like, I had a shitty day. I'm like, what, because you actually had to work? Like
what did you want to do?
Yeah. But it's wild to me that there's people I've like spoke with that have jobs that a lot of times they don't do shit, to where the days that they have to do something, those are the shitty days. Once again, you can compound laziness. Really easy to do. You can be lazy today, and then you're lazy tomorrow. Skip the gym today. It's easier to skip tomorrow. It's easier to skip the next day. Like, those things all compound. But then the ownership that you take into saying like, hey, yeah, I'm the first one. Like when I go on vacation, I haven't been real great at working out when I go on vacation. When I come back, it's a pain in the ass. But it's like I force myself to get up at 4 o'clock and like reset the day counter that I'm going to go after. Like you go into like kitchens or whatever, and they're like, oh, it's been like 315 days since the accident.
Yeah.
I'm like, who thought to do that? Hey, they're compounding days with no accidents.
Yeah.
It's plus.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go in there and be like, oh yeah, congrats, we've had 4 days in a row that we've had an accident. Like
that is true. Yeah.
That's not what they're trying to compound. So like, if you just want to say, hey, like I put a counter that, hey, it's been, people do it when they're trying to stop drinking or when they're trying to get sober, whatever it may be, they compound great days that they didn't do that thing. Like the power of one more, just one more day. So why not do that in ownership? And like truly own who you are and truly own what you do every day. Hey, today I take responsibility for everything I do from the second I get up till the second I go to bed. No excuses. Then do it again tomorrow. And you're going to start getting into a mind space that your body just subconsciously takes ownership for things. Like I've had it so many times, and when you take ownership, people will follow people that take ownership. Like you don't see Patrick Mahomes get up after a game and be like, yeah, when they lost, he's like, yeah, defense sucked. So-and-so dropped 3 passes today.
Other person didn't even run the right route.
Yeah. Have you seen him get up and go after a team to say that they, like, even when they win, he goes up and doesn't take ownership. Like he gets up, they've won, he goes up and he goes, yeah, defense showed out today. Kelsey played a killer game, blah, blah, blah. Like he gives the wins to others because he has that much ownership in what he does. You don't have to tell everybody. And it's like, same thing when I go places, people like compliment MMG. I'm like, that's not me. I'm like, I got an amazing team around me, people that are amazing at what they do. But then also there's been times where I've had clients come at me swinging that we did X, Y, and Z wrong. And I'm like, 100%. I was like, that's my fault. And they're like, you didn't even know about this. I'm like, it's my fault that I didn't develop a system and a process that made it to where this couldn't happen. I appreciate that you brought this to me because now I have to go get my ass back to work and figure out how to solve this to where that doesn't happen again.
Sounds like we got an opportunity for growth now.
Yeah. So it's like you can look at that as every single time that those things happen, like there are opportunities. Or you shut it down and just say, you can go to an argument state that I don't remember last time I ended up in like a true argument. Like now I think about it. Because I mean, Madison, it's been years. But even like business side, like, I mean, we'll get into like, I would say it's more of a debate, like not really, it's not argument. Like we're trying to get to a common point. I think everyone knows like where we're going, but there's ownership in every aspect of it. But also I think to that point sometimes where you have everyone in there, like, no, it's my fault. No, it's my fault.
Yeah, it's like, well, this isn't helpful either.
So, but I definitely think compounding the habits of not making excuses is probably the biggest thing people can focus on.
I totally agree, because it adds up so often. Because once you start to like pay attention to that in your life, you'll catch yourself making the excuse.
Yeah.
And that's okay when you catch yourself. The point is that you catch yourself and then fix it. Yeah. Right. So you're going to start off doing great, and then you're going to get cut off in traffic and then be like, oh, this sucks. This guy cut me off. And that's going to go on 10, 15 minutes. And then you'll realize, oh yeah, that's how it starts to affect you. So if you can take ownership for everything throughout the day, whether that's business or personal life. I really like how you said the good days are going to compound just like bad days are going to compound. So that at the end of the day, you have the choice whether you're compounding those good days or bad days.
Yeah. And I think, I know taking ownership in your attitude is a big one too. Too many people let that be controlled by everyone else. That is one thing that you have to control every single day, and you have to take ownership of that. When you let someone else dictate how your day is going to be to where you start compounding those bad days, you have to take ownership of what that attitude is. And it's like, it is one of my biggest fucking pet peeves is when people sit there and they're like, well, I'm in a bad mood because of blah, blah. And it's like, because of what? It's an excuse. The perception of how you look at anything is the value point that we all carry. That when I come in and I got, like you said, like we got fires to put out, we're putting out fires. Those are opportunities to get better at what we do. And I'm going to do it with a great attitude. I'm blessed for every single day I have to do this, and I get to spend it with a bunch of people I enjoy being around. I was on a call with somebody this morning, and he was talking, he goes, I just feel like your business is so different because he goes, you love being around all the people that you have. I was like, yeah, it's the best part of my day. I was like, I
couldn't imagine it not being that way.
I know. I was like, he goes, I just don't feel like I have those people that are similar to me. He goes, you can talk to people on a really high level around you. And he goes, they're receptive. And he goes, they're the same type of people as you. But I wanted to build something like that. That I could go to work and be around people that I could go to dinner with too. That I could hang out with on a weekend. That I could be around, that I'm like, it doesn't have to be this like huge divide of these people and these people. But also on relevance of like who I hang out with, it has no bearing on like financial status. It has bearing on like who those people are.
Absolutely.
Like, what are the principles that you live your life by? What are the values that you carry by? Are you somebody that makes excuses for everything? Do you take ownership in what you do? Like, just all those things like compound. Like, the fastest way to make me not want to hang out with you is like being around you and you flip out on your wife. Like, I've been around those people that just like let their wives have it and they're like yelling. I'm like, I'm going to control myself. I'm not going to say anything, but I'm not hanging out with you.
You're just going to not be around them anymore.
Yeah. But I don't know why that makes certain men feel big. Like, but I don't think they take the ownership of, they think they're in the right. They're making the excuse in their head that they're validating what they're doing, which is like, I don't know, wild to me.
It is.
I don't know. Sometimes those like deals stump me.
A lot of it, I think, comes back to the emotional control side. And unfortunately, a lot of that tends to come out in relationships, personal relationships, rather than business, whether it's a case of them taking stuff out, the bad things that happen during their day, quote unquote bad, or things they view as bad, bottling it up. They don't know how to control it, and then lash out at whoever else, unfortunately. And that sucks to see. But that's not somebody that you want to be around. And unfortunately, you can't necessarily help everybody either. Like, it's not like you can, if it's somebody that's close to you, you can hopefully influence them to make some better choices and have some more control in their life and take better ownership. But if it's an acquaintance or something like that, then that's a pretty good litmus test of whether or not you want that person in your life anyways.
The crazy thing too, when it comes to anybody, is you have control of your life to do what you need to do today. And it's like, that's the, once again, not taking the ownership and building it off of excuse that they had a bad day at work, so they're going to lash out on their wife. And I've even seen other ways. I've seen wives that are just terrible to their husbands and like the way that they speak to them. And I'm just like, wow, like there's people I know that like I don't hang around anymore because of that. And it's like, you have the opportunity to change that. And it's, I don't know, I think that it's just, that's a weird pathway to go down because you get around so many people that take no ownership in anything, that most of the time when people get really defensive and people get really angry towards someone, it's because they know they're wrong. To where when you start speaking to people that victim mentality, blame everyone else, excuse for everything, when you start trying to have a conversation with them, normally they'll start raising their voice really quick, and there's nothing productive coming out of that because they've built in their head that their excuse is just you're a bad person and like everything you're saying is wrong because there's something that you're trying to get out of it. And I think it's just, that's where I always like struggle so much on that forefront, is because there are people that think them yelling at their wives, them yelling at people and becoming defensive and getting offended and everything, they feel that's the right way. Like, and I don't know how to fix that.
It's unfortunate. But if you can, if maybe that's you listening to this, if that is you, if you can take the extreme ownership towards your attitude, I think if people can control their attitude at all times, that's how they're going to have the biggest impact on everything that's happening in their life. Because then you have control over whether you even view your day as good or bad.
Yeah. I think that goes into the gratitude side of things, that most people can view a bad day as viewing things that they don't have all day. And then I've always viewed a day that what are the pluses I have in life. And I was just in a meeting right before this, and I was talking, I was like, I've never really been attached to money, but I'm like, some of the happiest days I ever had was Madison and I riding on a scooter in Maryville, and I had like $20 to my name. I'm like, I know if I can be that happy at that point, money isn't the controlling factor of happiness with me. Do I want to be successful? Yes, but success doesn't just mean financial status. Success is me growing as a person, me becoming more intellectual to be able to speak with people, me controlling my emotions, me being able to control my attitude, me taking ownership in things. Like, that's what success is. And being able to navigate that to say, if you're doing those things, you're going to be happier. No matter what it is. Like, I could be running on a trash truck every day and being like watching the sunrise and be like, dude, this is awesome. Like, it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. It's the lens that you choose to look at life through. And I feel like that's just something that's becomes lost. And I think it kind of piggybacks a little bit into some of the last podcasts we've had, where people are just looking that somebody else has something that they don't. That's why they're not happy. Because I can promise you, I have the nice cars, I have those kind of things. You're not finding more happiness with a car. You're not. Like, yeah, you're going to have a day that you drive and you're like, oh yeah, this is cool. It doesn't forever bring happiness. It's not going to forever change that attitude. I know I've seen guys pull up in Ferraris that are assholes that are not having a good day.
That are still pissed off.
Yeah. I'm like, I really wish you could change that attitude, but it's just wild to watch. I've watched the people that have jets and stuff, and them sit and yell at their wives and have no emotional control and no ownership and everything. They think their wives in the wrong on everything that they do. And it's hard sometimes because you're discounted because you're younger. So people will think just because you're younger that you can't have that knowledge level to speak on that. Madison and I have been together for 13 years now. Like, the person that's been with their wife for 40 and is in an argument every day, they're like, you just don't understand yet. I'm like, I promise you my life will never look like that. No matter how far I go in life, I will never treat my wife like that. I will never treat people around me like that. I won't talk to other people like that. just from an ownership side of like, that's not who I am. And so I do think as we like progress and as we get older, there is you get the people will look at you as wiser just because of an age. So I don't know. It's a wild topic.
It is. I think there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, that's why we made it one of our core values, right? Because you apply it to not only business world, but you apply it in life. And at the end of the day, there shouldn't be a huge separation between the principles that you live by and work and live by in the rest of your life. At least I don't think so, because all of those core values that you hold close to you and that you live your life by are going to shape tomorrow into a better path.
Yeah. And every time that we interview somebody to come work at MMG, when you ask the question of like why someone's not at another company, like I look at all the things I dropped the ball on in the car business, just maturity level, just a lot of things just hadn't developed yet. And that led me down the pathway that I was on, that led to the conversation that made it to where I walked out of the store. Like all the things added up that I walked my line exactly the way it was supposed to be. And could I have navigated that differently? 100%. But never once have I like been like, it was everyone else's fault. I did nothing wrong. I was like the best car person on the whole planet. I had strengths, I had weaknesses, and it's when we interview people and you ask them the question about like why they weren't, like what happened at their last job, when they're like, yeah, management was terrible and they just didn't blah, blah, blah. And they just like spew about negativity towards someone else and there's zero accountability and zero ownership of them. And I'm like, not our person.
Yeah.
It's like became our biggest red flag in hiring. I would way rather the person say, hey, you know what? I messed up this and I did this and this is what led to here. And I'll own that. And didn't always get along with these people, but it was probably because I was doing X, Y, and Z. And if I'd done this differently, it probably would have led to that. And I'd be like, I would hire somebody on the spot for doing that.
100%.
So it's kind of intriguing to watch those different pathways and how people pitch things. And when you ask about a past relationship, it's wild how you ask somebody that's like not together with someone about a relationship and it's just strictly the other person's fault.
Every time.
Yeah, they did do this, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you have to take ownership in things in your life. So I think you take one thing away. Like I'm saying my top of it is the ownership of your attitude. Mm-hmm. That will trickle into a lot of different things.
I completely agree. Because that's just going to change your experience through all of those situations.
100%.
And your attitude's with you every single day. That's the lens you see the world through.
Yep. You get to control it 100% of the time. So always love talking about ownership and extreme ownership. If you haven't read the book, check it out. Highly recommend it. But thank you, Rick, for being on.
My pleasure.
I sit here talk for hours. But that's the M3 Podcast. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.